Good evening. I'm blinded by these lights here. Good evening and welcome. My name is Suzanne Stewart-Steinberg. I'm the director of the Pembroke Center. And it is with great pleasure that tonight the Pembroke Center, together with the Brown Motion Pictures, are going to be screening the film, Period, End of Sentence, which won the 2019 Academy Award for Best Short Documentary. In India, girls' educations are often cut short once they begin menstruating because they cannot afford or access sanitary products. The film documents a project that provides affordable sanitary products for women and girls while creating a sustainable microeconomy. So after the film, we will speak with Brown student Charlotte Silverman, who began working on the project in high school, and Ajeya Deep, project coordinator for Action India, and Ajeya will join us via Zoom from India. So let me just briefly say something about these two remarkable women. Ajeya Deep is a researcher and activist in the field of gender and sexuality studies. Indeed, right now she's working on her PhD. She works with Action India as a communication officer and in various organizations as a development professional. She has conducted research on patriarchy, gender and feminism, globalization in higher education, LGBT rights, and sexual harassment. In her organizational work, she is focused on children and youth rights, reproductive health rights, domestic violence prevention, and the prevention of forced childhood marriage. She has been actively involved in the making of Period, End of Sentence, and the setup of a sanitary pad unit in the village of Katikera, which is in the province of Uttar Pradesh. And by the way, Katikera is a village of about 550 inhabitants, but if you now Google the village, there are many, many entries because of this film. Charlotte Silverman is a first-year student at Brown University, and she comes from Los Angeles, currently a concentrator in gender and sexuality studies and visual arts. She is co-founder of the PAD Project, a nonprofit that she and her peers started in partnership with Action India, and an executive producer on the film Period, End of Sentence. Outside of this project, she's interested in gender-based violence research, prison reform, sexual violence prevention education, and also art. So this is what we're going to do, where we will first screen the film, and then we will have a discussion. I will ask some questions both to Charlotte and Ajeya, and then after that it will be open. We'll have a Q&A that's open to the floor. Before I ask representatives, both Zach Zuckerman and who else is coming? Okay, just you? Okay, Zach Zuckerman. From Brown Motion Pictures to also express words of welcome. I just want to thank the staff of the Pembroke Center for all of the work they have done to make this event possible, but I would especially like to extend my thanks to Denise Davis, who is also a member of the Pembroke Center, but Charlotte's advisor, and if she hadn't been such a great advisor, we may not have ever heard about Charlotte. So thank you, everybody, and please, Zach.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you all for coming. This is a really exciting event for us. BMP normally produces our own student films. We produce 8 every year, and our premiere is actually next Thursday at the Avon Cinema, open to everyone who wants to buy a ticket. But it was such an amazing opportunity to get to see Charlotte win an Academy Award and know her at Brown, and she's such a wonderful part of our community, so we thought it would be very cool to have this event and kind of open up a kind of Q&A session, because we're all about making filmmaking more accessible to the community. And so we want to thank Pembroke Center, Brown Arts Initiative, Butch Rovin, Xander Kim, Teek Sidipan, who are my 2 co-managing directors, and everyone else part of the Brown filmmaking community, and especially Charlotte for helping us with this event. And we're so excited to get to share this with everyone, so thank you.
So thank you, Charlotte, for being here with us this evening and sharing your experience about making the film. And so first, can I just say that how remarkable your persistence and hard work was in the entire project, not just the film, but the PAD project itself, which you began as a high school student when you were about 15 years old, is that correct? And have kept to it, so it's really remarkable, you know, how much time you've put into it. Okay, so let me start off with a question. So how did this whole thing start? You know, how did you get involved with the PAD project, and then eventually with the film?
Yeah.
And maybe what was your role in the whole process throughout?
Yeah. So basically, a group of high school students started this in a gender equality club. It was through an organization called Girls Learn International, which basically focuses on girls' access to education, girls' rights, and that's how we were partnered with Action India. So we've had, right now, our partnership has been ongoing for 15 years, and we kind of came up with the project in 2015 when a group of students on our end of the chapter went to the United Nations, to the Commission on the Status of Women, and there people from all over the world were basically talking about talking about access to menstrual products and how that kind of affected their ability to attend school consistently. And so we had been working on that issue more locally, doing tampon and pad drives for women's shelters and youth shelters, but we hadn't really heard about it as a global issue. So when the students from our chapter came back, we started talking to Action India about this specific issue and seeing like how that affected their community. And that's where the idea for the project, I would say, came from, is through that collaboration. It ended up being something that they said was affecting a lot of the girls that came to their GLI meetings. So girls that go to GLI in the Delhi chapter of Action India basically come from anywhere from like 20 minutes to 3 hours outside of the city. So it affects people in a lot of different ways. But we, I guess, came up with the idea of installing a pad machine because they had already heard about Murugan Anthem, who's the inventor of the machine, and they had found 9 women in the village that's seen in the film that were pretty determined to make this happen. So our roles, I always think my role as like a founder of the organization is more of providing support in whatever way we can to the people that are doing the grassroots activism on the ground. And from kind of the initial conversations, we talked about making this a more global conversation and trying to create something that would reach a wide audience, something that would hopefully resonate with other people and kind of inspire a new conversation around this topic. Yeah, and that's where, yeah.
So at what point then, who had the idea, and when did the idea of a film come about?
So, I mean, when we did, all of this is done, oh, she's calling, okay.
Oh, she's awake, okay.
Wait.
Take it.
Okay, hi. Do you have the Zoom link?
Well, Ajeya, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, I can see you, but I think you cannot see me.
Okay, I don't think,
Yeah,
I mean,
we
Charlotte
can't
and I
see you.
can't see you. Do you all see her? No, okay. So we can't see you, but we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can see you as well as hear you. So your audio and video is both very clear.
Okay.
Okay. So, good morning.
Yeah.
Ajeya, I'm Suzanne Stewart-Steinberg. I'm the director of the Pembroke Center that is sponsoring this event, and we just watched the film and just started a conversation that was ideally would be between you and Charlotte. And I just asked Charlotte a little bit about the background of the project as well as the film. And so maybe you could enter the conversation with us at this right now. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Great. So maybe you could give a little background on Action India's work in relation to questions of menstrual health and also educational rights.
So basically, Action India started in 1974. So you can actually say that it is almost like a parallel to the autonomous women's movement of our country, of India. So we started with health rights, and we worked on maternal mortality, infant mortality, sexual reproductive health rights. So we have decade-old work and relationship with the concept of menstrual hygiene and sexual reproductive health rights. And in terms of Hapur, we started working in early 2000s with child. We entered with child labor, then went on to work on education, nutrition, right to food. We worked on domestic violence, gender-based violence, women education, menstrual rights, etc., etc., etc. So this is the kind of work Action India has been doing, and we are a community-based grassroots organization. So all of our work is centered on the communities. Yeah.
So is this all over India?
No, we are centrally based in Delhi, and a lot of our rural work is based in Hapur, Uttar Pradesh, where our sanitary pad unit is also situated.
Yeah.
Do you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the area that we worked with specifically for this first unit, basically Ajeya had already been in contact with them about specific people that were interested in doing this project. So Suman, who's in the film, it's all in her house, and she, and basically that's kind of the reason it works, is because of the community connections and the history that everybody had already with the people that are working on the project. Yeah.
And Ajeya, what was your role in the making of the film?
So my role started way before even I think the concept of making a movie came in. It all started, I can say it all started almost around 15 to 16 years back, when the first collaboration of Girls Learn International began with Action India in India. So from there, I think these seeds of this beautiful collaboration and partnership must have happened way before even I entered this industry or development professional domain. So the whole role has been of designing and implementing that strategy plan, which was brought in during the meetings with GLI, that they want to install a unit, and they think that there is a lack of access for women in sanitary products, and they want to work on it. So when Charlotte and other producers on the movie wanted to, before even they became producers on the movie, they were members of GLI. So they came in, they wanted to do a unit with us. I did all of the R&D for the first unit, getting the unit, preparing the field so that it can be installed, we can do the trainings, maybe we can start creating groups, collectives in the field. So my work before the movie, during the movie, has been to kind of set up that scene, scenario, stage, so that this movie can become a success, and also to design that unit so that they can be a movie. So that way, the planning and not the implementation, but program planning was one of the things which I did for this project and the movie.
You want to add something, Charlotte, down to that?
No, I mean, honestly, all of it is, we owe it all to Ajeya. She does, yeah.
So what about responses to the film? And were there, I'm guessing there were different reactions in the United States and in India,
Yeah.
but what were the differences?
I mean, we've had an incredible response, mostly in that we've had a lot of people reaching out saying that this is a story that they really relate to, or something that they that's been affecting them as they grow up as well, and that they want to get involved in some way or install a machine or try and work on access to sanitary products in their specific area. So that response is now kind of what the work of the project is like pairing up grassroots organizations with people that are specifically interested in hosting a pad unit. But yeah, I think the response, I would say like the media response of the film has been really helpful in projecting the issue, but also obviously has a very one-sided view and tends to put like the girls in LA in the spotlight and not really talk about the grassroots action that's happening behind the whole project. So I think that's one thing that we're also trying to like promote is the real collaborative effort of the film and the project. And that's not really something that the US media has done particularly well.
Oh, so what do you, suggestions as to how that might happen?
I mean, it's difficult when we're in different countries, but I would say like, I mean, when we were all together in LA, we tried to do more collaborative interviews and press, but I think in general, there are a lot of power dynamics that really come out when you're looking at what is kind of promoted as the message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ajeya, in India?
The response has been immense. One, because this is the first best film ever for India when it comes to a best film Oscar. India has never won a best film. We've been nominated, and in the foreign film category, in documentaries and short documentaries, and this is the first best film we ever got. So it's like turning into a mini celebrity or a semi-celebrity in a night. You were a social activist working on women's rights and feminism, talking about equality, equity, inclusion, and the next day you have become a celebrity and there is a chauffeur on the airport standing for you with garland that they want to welcome you. And you're saying, no, that's not our ideology. We don't do this. So yeah, that kind of response have been immense. A lot of people know me in India now. Rather, I'll say the world. That, okay, there's this 29, 30-year-old who's been part of this, such a collaborative Oscar award winning project and all. And yes, finally, there is an open conversation on such a taboo subject of menstruation, which is such a big deal in India. We're still in those ages where we buy a sanitary product, put it in a black poly bag, cover it completely and bring it back home as if we are bringing arms and ammunition and RDX. Or maybe a headless body in the poly bag that you cannot show it to the world. There's a crime scene happening. So that way, there's an open conversation. We did have few meetings with big government officials like the governor of Uttar Pradesh, who was ready to listen to our solar energy problem and our pad supply and production problem. So yeah, that way, in India, because of this Oscar, there is a greater response to maybe our voices. That has definitely happened, which is a positive thing. Maybe this might lead to a greater collaborations with even the government.
Yeah. Charlotte, do you want to add something there?
No, yeah, I mean, that's also something that we're trying to work on is use the momentum to try and get free pads and tampons in schools here as well. And that, I mean, that's something that you need somebody with more power behind. So working with government and working with individual schools is also something we're building on.
Right. So, I mean, before the screening, Charlotte, you said that one of the big problems was electricity, and it also, of course, appears in the film. And Ajeya, you just mentioned that the film has helped, is that correct, with access to electricity and steady supplies?
See, people have started listening that there is this huge power issue in that particular area of India. I think it's going to help. There's another huge political issue happening in the country, in India right now. We have our central union elections. We have just begun with the central elections in our country. So all our states are right now busy with elections. So that kind of um, um adherence to getting electricity or power backup has still not happened. But yeah, they now know that there is a issue, and uh, to run the unit, we need electricity, and I think government now, I think, is going to support us with solar backup. So that's a whole huge, different kind of politics altogether on energy. And the
sorry,
distribution of energy all around the world.
could you just repeat the last sentence? I think that was a little distorted.
I'm saying that it's again a different kind of politics around energy also, and how it's unequally distributed all around the world. So even that is also a way of discriminating, because the same city, posh localities will have 24/7 backup, and places which are not that posh or does not come from the upper class will be having 18 hours of power cut. So that way, even that kind of inequality is also there. So yeah, trying to fight that too in the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really extraordinary how such a, a small object, a pad, which of course is important to many people, is how that the production of that object raises and brought in so many other different social issues, including energy supplies, as you just mentioned, but, education, distribution, economics, home economies. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. And of course, now with the making of the film, also the media. And it's really extraordinary, how this film could capture so many different issues, and also, of course, international collaborations amongst women. So, any comments?
I feel like you covered that. Yeah.
So, just a last question for maybe both of you is, and before we open up a Q&A session also for the audience, is if you could just maybe talk a little bit about the process of making the film, from, I guess the evolution from the production of the film and its initial stages, how it came about, and then distribution, and then the whole, film festivals, and then ending up at the Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that brings up how many, it's a hugely collaborative effort, and I think as a bunch of high schoolers, we didn't have any experience, obviously, in this, so it took a lot of, individual people that knew one thing really well, and we would ask for help on the entire process. But essentially so once we decided that we wanted to really do this, we started our initial Kickstarter campaign in 2015, installed the machine, did all of the background before doing any of the filming, which was throughout 2016, 2017, and then the whole film festival process was right after that. And so during that, I guess, we had a team of people that were working on specifically entering entering film festivals, and then we had another simultaneous team that I would say I'm more a part of, that was working on this on this partnership. So we would be talking with Ajeya throughout and talking about what was working, what wasn't working, as we thought about setting up new machines or kind of promoting this story and yeah, I mean, I can go into the nitty gritty of entering the festivals and everything, but Ajeya, do you want to say anything?
I think I was also on the same side of the team. More than taking our movie to film festivals, we were more on the side of the pad unit. So I've been part of the most interesting part, which I want to mention in all of this, was when GLI or these girls started working with us, and our first donation or assistance came in, And then when we realized that it's not enough to even run the unit for a year, we need much more money, they started doing that Kickstarter, crowdfunding, sales again. And the best part was that when we were having that kind of conversation, they had two ideas. Either they could use the same money to put on another unit, or let's do a bigger thing, let's go for a movie and let's try to spread the word all around the world, all around. And I really appreciate that we all thought of taking the second option of making this movie. Otherwise, this movie wouldn't have happened, we would have got another unit. So this movie is because we thought that let's go bigger, let's make some kind of icy material that everybody could see and understand, that even you can localize such a product in your own vicinity. So we've been there in the making side of the movie rather than the promotion marketing side of the movie. So that was mostly done by the production Sikh Entertainments and the people in Hollywood who were working just on the production and promotion of.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a lot about it's definitely risky to choose to make a film about something over like doing more of the other work. But I think we knew that it was a risk, but we all thought that if it did work and that we could use this as an educational tool. We never thought it would get obviously as far as it's gotten now, but our plan was to kind of use it in like colleges and high schools and middle schools to start a conversation about menstruation. And if we got that to that point, then we would consider it a success and hopefully eventually like work on more machines and create more partnerships.
Great. So I think it would be nice now to open questions up to the floor, and both to Charlotte and to Ajeya. When you ask a question, since there are no microphones in the audience, could you speak really loud, or either of us will just have to repeat the question. This is so Ajeya can actually hear us. Okay. So open up. Can you stand up and maybe you're going to have to speak loud?
I'm curious about the gentleman who invented this machine. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about his story?
Okay. So the question was the man who invented the machine, and so the questioner would like to know more about his story.
Yeah, we're actually moving away from his machine onto a new one, but he had a significant part of like the original planning. He was who a lot of people at the UN were referring to when they talked about this kind of new plan of creating access. Ajeya met with him to buy the machine, so I feel like it's better for you to talk about it.
So basically, Arunachalam Muruganathan, the man, who's also called the Padman of India, even the world, he actually designed this machine in the early 2000s. So, and the best part is that he never patented it, never branded it as it is own. So there is a lot of innovation which happened after he made the machine. And we started with his machine, which was completely manual in 2016, and now in 2019, we have that kind of demand that we are actually moving on to a semi-automatic machine, which is almost double the capacity of production and energy. So that, and to know more about Arunachalam Muruganathan, you can actually go watch Padman. Shows a lot about his personal life, but there are certain things which keep changing, which is not true what is projected even in terms of what Arunachalam Muruganatham's machines can do. One, they are not that cheap. The end product is not just 1 rupee. It is not possible. It will come to at least 3 to 4 rupees per pad. So it is actually a little costlier for the larger community in the country. Second, the aspect of the design of what Muruganatham's machines are producing. Muruganathan is producing a straight square rectangle pad, whereas these days it's more of that winged side flipped pads which are in demand. Women are going out, moving out, they're going to schools, colleges, traveling in autos, rickshaws. They need that kind of extra protection so that the pad stays. So that kind of innovation is happened with his machines by other people. So that's why, in a way, we at Pratt Project have moved on to much more modern, innovative machines. So, yeah.
Because one of our goals now is to talk about how to get free pads in schools, and we were talking about how to make the Fly brand the pads that are available. So at a level like that, we can't, if the machine that we originally started with produces 600 to 800 pads a day, we have to, figure out how to get.
You need
past that.
a better machine.
Yeah,
And
better
more
machine.
machines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we have already started working on. Got
Right.
one semi-automatic. I'm traveling to Mumbai next week just to see the machine and to see that. Planning to get it ASAP. Maybe by the end of May, we'll have another machine in Hapur. So yeah, and that is going to produce double, triple the amount of pads we were producing before. We can actually do double shifts. That kind of machine we are now bringing in. And it is nothing compared to the cost of that multinational Whisper Stay Free Cortex machines, which are millions of dollars worth. So yeah.
Yes. Another question? Yes. Good. Loud, okay?
This is for you, Charlotte. I guess my question is, now that you guys have been able to garner so much success with this initiative in the film, and I know you've worked with other grassroots activism projects like in Chiapas in Mexico, if you think using film as kind of like a medium to enact change is something that you envision yourself pursuing more further down the road.
Wait a minute, do I need to repeat the question? Yes, okay. So the question was to Charlotte whether she believes that film, the use of film, is a vital tool, correct me if for social activism, and how you, Charlotte, envision, or do you envision using it in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the origin of this project, we thought, we have this platform and we know that it's very successful in spreading a certain message, or spreading a message or a story. And I definitely think that this has shown that it's an incredibly valuable resource in projecting stories. I think that in working on grassroots activism in film, it takes a really, really specific approach for something like that to work, which requires again, a long-term relationship and making sure that the people whose story are being told are the ones that are in control of the message and what the world is going to see. So I think that's part of the decisions behind not showing the project in the film, not having the people that were working on the project in Los Angeles being present in the film, things like that, that I think are really vital to making it an actually a valuable resource, I would say. But overall, yes, I think film is an incredibly important tool to use and one that we have found is able to educate a mass audience, which is what we had hoped. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question? No? No more questions? Yes, oh there, sorry.
Well, I am curious, with the upgrade of the machine, and thank you for your work, it's incredible. I'm curious about the sustainability of the women. And maybe it was that one particular village, but they were so proud to make something on their own and earn a bit of pocket money.
Yeah.
Are the women still
Yeah.
participating?
So the model will be the same. What we're talking about doing now is there will still be 3 women that are doing that type of work, that prefer to be doing that type of work. But a lot of what we're talking about is that there's more of an interest for doing business and learning how to do business strategy and kind of do the door-to-door sales and work on still sustaining a microeconomy, but in a way where it's more business oriented and not as much, I guess not all 9 women would be on on the machine, but more door to door. And we're kind of working on getting like a strategist to meet with them and like talk about what that looks like long term, and eventually have this unit be a model for future units. But in general, the machine, like the type of machine, won't change the people that are working on it or the amount. If anything, it should increase the individual wages, because right now we're kind of relying on stipends that were part of the fundraising from before, as the machine and the microeconomy becomes more sustainable.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? Which is, I mean, there is sort of a conflict here, maybe, or possibly, which is, on the one hand, a sustainable microeconomy where production takes place on site in the villages, and where there's a sales that is door to door on the one hand, and on the other, a as broad as possible distribution of the product, right? And so, and ideally free.
Right.
And so, I mean, how does one put those two together, right? On the one hand, money in the pockets for the women in the village, and on the other hand, free pads across the country.
Right. So that's where partnering with people that are in schools.
Should I answer this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so basically, if you look at any country's government, it has to be a welfare state. US is a welfare state, so is India. When it comes to the designing of a constitution, our states, our government are responsible for the well-being of their citizens. So it is part of the government responsibility to provide free access to sanitary products for women. What our partnership and collaboration is doing is showing them how to do it. We are trying to create those models, and also telling them that, see, you can also install similar localized kind of machines, and you can produce local products. So you don't need to rely on big companies and multinationals like Whisper, basically P&G and GlaxoSmithKline, to get into Whisper, Stay Free, Kotex, and all of these things. So yeah, maybe this will help women to develop those entrepreneur skills to become financially more stable and independent in the country, and also bring in the localized small scale industry, women-owned projects. So a women-owned industry. So our idea is to make it for women, by women, from women. So yeah.
Other questions? Yes. Zach?
I'm wondering, and this is for Ajeya. So originally, when the film was made, it was made with the intention of like working with high schools and colleges, and it's kind of obviously grown in such a positive way. But I'm wondering if that's affected any of the people who were in the film and the village itself. Like, with more exposure, has that changed kind of their lives, or how they're living, or how the village is functioning?
Ajay, did you hear that question?
No.
Nope, I didn't think so.
He was
Go ahead.
he was asking if the kind of, I guess, like this whole process of the film being spread how it's kind of affected the people that are shown on the screen, how it's affected the people that are working on the machine.
Yeah. So basically, in the village, Kati Kheda, Hapur, a lot of media attention has happened after the Oscars. So probably around 40 to 50 media houses reached the village to actually shoot the unit and get to know how it all began and all. So yeah, a lot of media attention has happened. Sneha and Suman have actually become like stars, and people are actually listening to these two very strong individuals about their aspirations, how Sneha wants to get into police and wants to not get married and want to make a career out of herself. So yeah, that way there's been an immense response to women who were in the movie, were still part of the unit, and there've been a lot of assistance in the terms that people are ready to now share their contacts with us. That yes, we know this politician or this representative of the state. You can go talk to this corporate house and maybe you can find some kind of assistance. So yeah, till now this has happened again because India is going through their election phase. None of us are working right now in those spirits because all of us are part of this huge Indian festival of election 2019, where probably the largest numbers of voters are going to come out because India is the largest democracy. So another history is going to be created in the world. The largest number of voter ever voted for any kind of election. So yeah, we're going through a politically little unstable times. So maybe after 3 months, I will be able to answer this question that how much this movie has helped in really achieving those governmental gaps, bridging those gaps. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, there's one right there. Yes. Loud, okay. Just speak up. Yeah.
This is probably also more of a question for Ajeya, but I was wondering, in the film, it seems like the sense is that people are like embarrassed it's a taboo topic, but not that anybody was upset or angry that the project is happening. I'm wondering if, in the making of the film or the starting of the installation of the first unit, if there was any negative pushback in that sense, and if so, why you would choose to leave it out of the film because it doesn't really seem like there is any.
Ajeya, did you hear the question? Nope.
No.
I'm going to repeat it.
She was asking about if there was any negative pushback from people during the filming and when the first unit was installed. Yeah, and if you can speak to like why we wouldn't have included that, or if that was an issue that you remember coming up.
So yeah, because yes, menstruation is a very huge taboo in India. I think even in world. I saw the same kind of discomfort in men in US, in the United States as well when I was there, talking about menstruation. That even they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to go buy sanitary products. Almost similar, much greater, larger is in India. So yeah, when we were trying to get to this unit, we started with telling men that this is a unit for diapers. So from those diapers to having an open conversation and getting into menstrual health melas where men come and talk about menstrual pads and also about their own bodies, asking questions on how their bodies have changed after puberty or during puberty. So yeah, it has been a lot of challenges, especially with men, so that women can come out of their houses, start working in the unit. All of these women you see in the movie are working for the first time in terms of going professionally out and working in a factory. So yeah, that kind of challenges we faced to a very large extent, and we do it even now because that it's still a taboo. It's people. So there are hours of footage of movie where we have asked about menstruation in the room and girls are only laughing. They're only smiling, giggling, not answering, saying, ask her, no, you ask her. So that kind of, yes, responses have been there. And now there's been an open conversation as well. So yeah.
Do you want to add anything, Charlotte?
No, I mean, I think you see them in the film after we got over the original barrier, but there were, I think, two main people that were very against the machine at first. And this is also the reason that this works again is because it's a more progressive group of people than in a lot of places where it wouldn't have worked. Like, not just in India, in the US and around the world, there are plenty of places where this would not have been able to work. But in general, the main people that were very aggressively not into the machine or the film ended up being okay with it, or ended up actually on the film. There's one person on it, yeah. But yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Now everybody is okay with the unit.
What did you say?
I'm saying now, even the men in the village are very okay with the unit because it is bringing some kind of hope for, I think, everybody in the village.
Well, that's another achievement. Okay, well, so with this, thank you everybody for coming, and
Thank
thank you
you.
Charlotte and Ajeya for sharing your experiences and of course the wonderful film. So, thanks.
Thanks for coming.